Salutations, utopians. Hope all is well in your world. Action packed day today in sports, where there was men's college basketball watching, 24 ranked Tennessee get upset by Kentucky, or North Carolina getting knocked off by Cal. Um, I think North Carolina is top five in the nation. Uh, there's only three teams left that are undefeated now. It's crazy in the college men's basketball landscape. Or going over to the NBA, watching Devin Booker pass Steve Nash, as you know, two phenoms for the Phoenix Suns, um, and seeing that lifer Devin Booker continue to work up the ranks on a 2 year deal, final 2 years. Just amazing run he's had. Today, the Bills and the Broncos, first and foremost, sad news with Bo Nix, fought all the way down to the wire only to have his postseason cut off. Stidham will be getting the start next week, but that was an amazing 5 quarter battle into overtime. Both teams fought their heart out, and ultimately the Broncos got their W. Um, and then the surprise blowout loss for the 49ers on the grand stage against a historic rival in the Seahawks. But what I want to talk about is the Los Angeles Lakers. And as you all know, if you've been keeping up with my page, I always said I want to make a concerted effort to make sure that I only speak on the Lakers when I absolutely have to. I don't want to be one of those people who just spams the algorithm with Laker and the Cowboys talk. And I think right now is an appropriate time with some 30 odd games into the year. Um, a lot of minors storylines on a grand platform. As you all know, this offseason, the Lakers sold for another $10 billion. They went into this year with a lot of expectations. They relinquished a couple staff members from the Bus family. Jeannie still has her governing chair, which is still and a 5% ownership stake with the Lakers. Um, they made some interesting offseason additions. Marcus Smart, DeAndre Ayton. Ayton was picked up off waiver wire from the Portland Trailblazers. This season, they got off to a hot start. I called them the second best team in the West, and they have been on a healthy decline since um, going on that great, I think it was 16-5 start to the year. Um, with that being said, I'm looking at the Lakers right now, and you know, there's so many things you can point your attention to. Obviously, Ayton expressing frustration as the center for the Lakers is a glaring thing. It's frustrating because, I wish he would go look at Lamar Odom, who Lamar Odom was with the Clippers, and then who he was when he became a Laker. Because Odom was one of innovative players that just started uh, this four spot being a one type role, that Swiss Army knife kind of 6'10, 6'11 Swiss Army knife guy, and had to go to the Lakers and humble himself. Ultimately became one of the best rebounders in the postseason of all time. Not to mention his facilitating, moved to the second unit, even developed a three-pointer being on the court, sharing the court with Kobe. But the point I'm making is the compromise. He says he doesn't get the ball, but Luka is the second, averages the second most three-pointers in the NBA behind Steph Curry, and he's shooting low 30s. So to me, it's like, why isn't he on the glass getting those offensive putbacks? You have to reinvent yourself. It's not going to be a pick and pop or your number's going to be called in that way. You're on the Lakers, the mighty Lakers. They're worth $15 billion. Then there's things that I didn't account for, which is the chemistry issues. Seen some videos on TikTok about what the issue is with the Lakers, and one of the big issues is the disconnect between Luka and LeBron this season. I have a pretty sharp, keen understanding based on a video I seen on TikTok what the issue is between them two, but I'm not going to disclose what it is because that's not my place. I'm not one of those people that wants to be known for stirring up drama or speculating, but let's just say that I do think there is a little bit of tension, and I understand both sides on why the tension is there, but I won't disclose that here because I'm not in that locker room, or nor do I have any connections to the Lakers or the either individual player to speak on something that I don't have for sure confirmation on. But it's definitely an issue that I could understand why. Um, it's definitely not something ticky tack like, oh, I'm not touching the ball at this time in the game or anything like that. It's something more serious than that. But again, I'm not. It's not my place to speculate because I don't know for sure. Just from I watched a compelling video and I have more reason than not to believe why. Uh, you have, speaking of LeBron, his agent Rich Paul, who has a pretty good stronghold on the NBA right now. Um, who seems to want to have a general manager role in the NBA, speaking out, speaking on Austin Reeves, who is a very tricky player to try to gauge in terms of true meaning of value. It's made for good content towards algorithms on social media. People arguing, i.e., Nick Wright, about who's a better third option, Bradley Beal or it's hard to tell. The guy goes out and he drops 50, but you also have to look at strength of schedule, you know what I mean, and opponents. And the Lakers had one of the more friendlier schedules to start the year. And same thing with Jaylen Brown when everyone's like, oh, look at how great Jaylen Brown has been. We misunderstood. He can hold his own even without Tatum. Celtics had one of the more bottom five schedules in the NBA. So, context is necessary, long story short. And so when I'm watching Austin Reeves, do you sell high while the going is good? Um, as Rich alluded to in his podcast, it kind of is offsetting what Luka already does. One could argue that Austin might be a little bit better than Luka, but the name and the cachet that Luka brings obviously has more value on the market. I don't, me personally, don't even think Austin Reeves is better than Caruso. I'd value Caruso more than I value Austin Reeves, but that's just me personally. That could be a preferential thing. One of the chaotic disasters right now is my understanding that Austin's agent approached Rich Paul on the sidelines during their last game, the game before today, was lost to the Portland Trailblazers. Here's the thing: Rich Paul is a businessman. I think, is it right or wrong? It is definitely traditionally a little off, but this is a new NBA where people like Shams can announce a trade in the middle of the finals. That would get you put on the side of the road during David Stern's reign over the NBA. That stuff seems to be acceptable or okay in Silver's NBA, but these are non-traditional times, and so when you see him potting with Max Kellerman, who it's good to see his back on the sports circuit, um, whether it's right or wrong, he has a point. Austin is in a contract year. He should be where he can maximize his bankroll. He's doing them a favor. And if anyone's qualified to talk on Austin Reeves, it is Clutch Sports Rich Paul, because LeBron has, helped him speed up his transition process and being a successful pro in the NBA. I don't even quite frankly understand. Lakers don't even play young guys. I don't know where this guy came from. Don't get me wrong, his college tape looked really good. Rob and his team did a great job of discovering him, but most of the time the Lakers do not develop stars, and I don't even if they do try to develop you, the amount of background work that would be allowed for you to even be in the proximity of LeBron presence is FBI like insurmountable. So the mystery of where he even came from to me is incredible. But they're in no position to tell someone, hey, don't speak on my client, because your client only has a career because of Rich Paul's client, LeBron. With that being said, I don't think Jaren Jackson is a solution, nor do I think they necessarily have to make a decision this season. I think maybe waiting to decide whether, first of all, is LeBron playing. If LeBron, this is in fact LeBron's last year, you might even want to wait a season or at least a trade deadline before you decide another trade deadline before you decide whether Luka and Reeves can coexist, and is that a championship backcourt? I don't think so. But I mean, the way they were playing this year, you can't really argue with production and results. Again, strength of schedule, context does matter. Um, Do I think the Lakers need to make a dramatic blockbuster deal? No, I don't. That's the other thing. I don't think the issue with them is they need to put LeBron back at the three. This, first of all, this experiment, again, I've been saying it. The day LeBron's really a four in the NBA is the day he should be retiring. He's still a top five player in today's league, and he should be at the three. You know, masquerading as the one, playing the three, but even though he's going to be the one. Um, so to me, that doesn't change. He's looking just as good as ever out there, and he's in fact many nights been the one to mix it up, and try to be the spark plug, which is crazy to ask of a 41-year-old. Not to mention he's the one setting the tone physicality speaking, which I don't understand. But that's why that goes to my next point. I will say he said some very interesting. The fact that Rich Paul identified a power forward as the team of need, which is what I was saying this offseason. They might want to look into a Grant Williams type of guy who, remember, had some who played with Luka in Dallas. And this is why I tell people that Luka is not the stud that you guys are trying to make him out to be. He's a great player. I mean, very great. He's going to go down in history. But this notion, like, only the Lakers could afford this antique vehicle here to equip and to furnish the maintenance that required to keep up this antique vehicle known as Luka Doncic. And to be quite honest, it's ironic because people keep talking about the Hawks trading Luka on draft night for Trae Young. They're basically the same player to me. And if in fact Trae Young getting to an Eastern Conference Finals without no clear definitive number two option is actually more impressive than what Nico Harrison had to do to get Luka Doncic, to the finals, which is, people are not giving him credit, but he's the one that actually brought back the need to have two centers on a roster if you want to be taken serious as a finals contender. That should be his legacy. But instead, you're the guy who traded Luka for Anthony Davis, and as tired as I am of bringing up the Cat for Randall trade, or the Luka for Anthony Davis, guess what? Anthony Davis is exactly what the Mavericks need while they're trying to rebuild their team. They have a veteran, one of the rare veteran productive big men who you can put on the court, and at the same time not have to worry about him trying to steal the shine of your real number one pick in Cooper Flag, because he already watched his body of work when he was escorting LeBron towards all his record legacy stats. So you already knew that he's not going to impede, and he's not one of those guys who are quote unquote a hater when his teammates are, reaching career accolades. So he's the perfect complement to a Cooper Flag. He can absorb all the physicality and the dirty work while he works on his front court skills, because he is 6'9", 6'10", Cooper Flag, but he's still developing his grown man weight. And at the same time, he can also give him a lob threat and just a guy who can run pick and pop, pick and roll with, so you can work on his point guard skills, which is what J. Kidd envisioned for him as a point forward down the line. So, who does come from the alma mater of one of the greatest point forwards, and the prototype to what LeBron is doing today, and Grant Hill. So you would want to see him in that type of thing, who Jason Kidd shared the Rookie of the Year award with. So he sees that kind of Grant Hill type skill set, and which he said in interviews. And if anyone would know, it would be Jason Kidd, who shared the Rookie of the Year award with him, and he sees and he knows, he believes in it. I don't think it's far-fetched. I'm seeing Cooper Flag make those reads. But the point I'm making anyway is going back to is people keep questioning whether that trade was relevant. I mean, was the right partner. He's exactly who you want. A 32-year-old who can play when you need him to. He's often injured, so great. You can be in the tanking chase for another prospect that you can pair with him, whether you go with another Duke guy in Cam Boozer. Not necessarily the biggest fan of, but I can respect his game. Or you go Peterson or Wilson. I think Wilson would be the best option for them at the 4, but whatever they choose to do, they have choices now to be able to accumulate another elite lottery pick and get ready to build for the future. And then when the time is right, you got two vets in Kyrie Irving and Anthony Davis who can help speed up the process, because you need guys who can win games. They've been to the finals, they've won championships, and so and their influence is perfect for the Mavericks trying to make Cooper Flag into that point forward mode, like LeBron, like Grant Hill. The connections are there, the synergies there. So there's not much to have to think about. You know what I mean? That was a great trade, and it landed them a number one pick in Cooper Flag, who has Duke ties like Kyrie, and just it all works out, and people don't have to question. And as far as the Lakers are concerned, they're the only franchise that can afford, other than the Clippers, to put the players you need around a guy like Luka and mask his deficiencies, which are glaring, and you're seeing it. And not to mention his conditioning and his health. He's been injured and banged up enough this he didn't play tonight against the Portland Trailblazers due to sickness, due to a physical ailment to his lower extremities. I think it was a leg, something leg related, ankle something. So I mean, when you look at what's going on with respect to the Lakers, you know what I mean? I don't necessarily think, going back to my Grant Williams thing, they need a physical enforcer. I like Vando. I think he's a great piece in that rotation. But first of all, he's often injured too. He's too light in the pocket to be your enforcer, in his back pockets to be the enforcer of the team. They need another presence. It's not Ayton. Ayton leans heavily closer to what Anthony Davis is, and Anthony Davis wanted out of LA because they wouldn't equip him with somebody to absorb the dirty work. Davis and Ayton are similar players in that sense where they don't really want to do the dirty work. Even though Ayton's a five, he needs a four that can go out and do all the dirty stuff and roaming and guarding multiple positions so he doesn't have to be exposed as a lateral guy. He can sit back in like a zone coverage and just, be tall and just put his hands up. Think like Roy Hibbert. And so, in that way, and they don't, which is not a good example because David West wasn't the most laterally quickest defensively, but he did have a high IQ. He knew how to anticipate plays. But what the Lakers need is, a four, a Jarris Walker, a Grant, Jalen Green, no, who's the guy from the Bulls? Give me 1 second. I wouldn't mind a Jarris Walker from the Pacers. I'm seeing his face, guy with the goggles from the Bulls. Forgive me, I should have these names written down, but Jalen Smith, you know, just guys who can go out and be disruptive and guard multiple positions. And if they can knock down some jump shots, that would be wonderful in the process. Like I said, Grant, so to me, that's what they need. They need a four who can be a multi-position defender, who can set off the physicality, who can, you know, shoot the ball. They haven't really found that Finney Smith replacement. Patrick Williams, even on the Bulls, would be decent. Just somebody who can knock some shots down, guard multiple positions, be physical, set the tone, be present and healthy. That would be nice. Obviously, another point guard threat would be good also, especially in the absence of Reeves. I don't know why they didn't go after Chris Paul in free agency. He seems to fit what the Lakers need and what JJ needs. They need somebody to talk out of those timeouts, break the ice. I think everybody's a little too respectful of each other. Sometimes you just need to, hey, go do that. Hey, what's up with this? Let's talk about this play. Man, why you ain't shoot that? Things like that. They need that on their team in order to, get this synergy going and crack the ice a little bit, because everybody's kind of just respecting each other's space and respecting each other's brands. And it's like, at some point you need to break the ice, you know what I mean? And so I think Chris Paul would be a great addition, and they would value his leadership and his communication. um, but not saying LeBron's not a leader, but I just think an extra voice who can be that. I think he can be a great bridge. He'll get under Luca and really, attack, really, break the ice with Luca and get him ingratiated with the team a little bit. Because right now it's just everyone's kind of like brand managing, and it's not. There's no synergy and there's no chemistry right now, and that's the thing I didn't account for when I thought they were the second best team in the West. But I don't necessarily think they need to go to extreme like getting a franchise player like Jaren Jackson, who's $200 million contracted, would have the Lakers on the book. But at the same, and plus he's not much of a better rebounder, and he's not moving as good laterally as a defender like he was when he was a decoy. So I just don't like that trade offer, but definitely the four is the issue. I don't know. It sounds like now the Pelicans are committed to Zion, so I don't think they're going to be moving him. But a Jarris Walker, a Jalen Green, a Jalen Smith, you know, the guy from the Hornets who was teammates with Luka in Dallas. Um, that's what I want to see for the Lakers at this point. They need a four who can mix it up and get physical, a goon, so to speak, but yet a productive goon. And that would really help what the Lakers are doing right now because um, definitely they need a shakeup. And I think JJ is doing the best he can. It's not a coaching issue. But they just, and I expect to see something at the trade deadline. They're for sure. And I don't think they need to move a first round pick. It'll probably have to be Roy. Roy is inevitably going to get moved, whether it's with the current administration or if they bring in someone new at GM. They're going to get him out of there eventually. They have to. And if it's between Roy or moving a first round pick, I'd rather move Roy, just to be quite honest with you. He seems like the most tangible asset they can move right now, and the Lakers need to do it. I understand he has that large Japanese following that the Lakers might like, the extra eyes, but if you're winning games and playing good, that will change. I just don't think he's a guy who can score 20 points if you set him up well, but he's too much of a tweener. He's too much of a hybrid. They need a real four over there, and they need a physical tone setter outside of Vando and LeBron. And I think if they can move Roy, get some second round picks, and also, swap out, that would be really great. Hope this video was informative, Utopians. I try to do better next time. Global out.